Hi, sixth graders. I brought along a hard-boiled egg today to help us demonstrate the layers of the earth. The layers of the earth really remind me of this egg. Now, at first glance, I'm noticing that I have some cracks on my egg, but that's okay because those cracks remind me of the huge crustal plates that move around. So, layers of the earth, we live on the outer layer, which is the crust. Now, the shell, the outer part of the egg, reminds me of the crust because it is the thinnest part of the egg, and it's also the thinnest part of the earth. So, the crust is 3 to 20 miles thick. So, 3 miles is about from school to Route 27. And 20 miles is approximately from South Brunswick to Great Adventure to Freehold Mall, if you're familiar with those places. So that's how thick the crust is. Now, we live on the crust. It's the thinnest part. It's the coolest part. Even though we have temperature fluctuations, between 0 to 100, we could still survive on the crust. We can adapt to those temperatures. But as we go in towards the center of the earth, you're going to notice that the temperature increases and the pressure increases. But for the crust, we live on it. It's 25% land, 75% water, and there are two kinds of crust. We have continental crust, which is underneath the continent or the land, and we have oceanic crust. Sounds like ocean, right? Well, that's because it's underneath the ocean. Oceanic crust, continental crust. All right, I'm going to remove my eggshell here. Bear with me. And underneath the shell, as you know, we have the white part of the egg. The white part of the egg is going to represent the mantle of the earth. Now, just like the hard-boiled egg, the white part is squishy. The mantle also has like a squishier type substance as well. It contains magma. You probably heard of magma about volcanoes. They're inside volcanoes. It's the magma and convection currents, which you've heard of, that allow the big tectonic plates, the shell of the eggs like the tectonic plates, that move around the earth. So again, the white is like the mantle. Now the mantle has layers of its own. If you think of lamb, L-A-M, that's not really how you spell the animal lamb, but if you think L-A-M, lithosphere, asthenosphere, and mesosphere are the layers of the mantle. So as I said earlier, as you go deeper from the crust into the mantle, temperature's hotter. It gets upwards to 5,400 degrees. And the pressure is greater as well. We could only live on the crust. Our blood would boil if we go beyond crust. Let's see what else. It is the thickest layer, the mantle, the thickest layer. As for the egg, it's thick. Kind of the core is the thickest though on the egg. All right, I'm gonna remove the white, so the mantle is being removed right now, which will bring us to our core of the earth, or the yolk of our egg. Now I like using the egg for this reason as well. Not only could we see the tectonic plates of the shell, we could also, with the hard-boiled egg, you could see how when you hard-boiled it, it gets that greenish color, whereas the inside is more yellow. You could see the difference there in that thin layer around the outside this circumference here. So I like that because the core of the earth, the outside, the outer core, is actually liquid, whereas the inner core, again, the pressure is so great that it goes back to a solid. It solidifies back to a solid. So the yolk outside is like the outer core, inside is like the inner core. Now the core is made up of iron and nickel. They're both elements. Again, temperature is the hottest in the core, greatest pressure in the core, and it reaches temperatures upwards to 11,000 to 14,000 degrees. Again, we can't even fathom what that feels like. Now, my question is, how do we know all these facts about the layers of the Earth if we can't visit there? Well, scientists use something called direct evidence, evidence you can actually see directly or study, and indirect evidence. Indirect evidence is just hypothesizing or inferring using the direct evidence. So indirect is inferring, direct is what you can actually see. So examples of direct evidence would be things like rock samples, even caves, seismic waves from earthquakes, sonar, which is sound in water, and then indirect would be things you can't really see or get to, but could be used to figure out some of the things that you could learn from the direct evidence. So in conclusion, I have my layers of the Earth. There's 3 main layers, but if you're counting the core, outer core, and inner core, it's 4 layers. So outer layer of the egg is the shell, but the outer layer of the Earth is the crust. Go in a layer deeper, we have the white of the egg, which represents the mantle of the Earth. And then we have the yolk of the egg. This is like a cross section. And the outer green part is like the liquid outer core of the Earth. And the yellow of the yolk is like the inner core of the Earth, which is back to solid. All right, that's it for now.